All right, I'm excited because I get to show you one of my all-time favorite features inside Photoshop, and it's called LayerComps. Now, what the heck is a layer comp? A layer comp is a way to save out a different version or to include different versions of a document within that same document instead of having to do save as and end up with a bunch of different files. So let's kind of think about this in real life scenario. Here's my little postcard we've been working on, and there's an optional background image. Let's go ahead and turn on that layer, the option 2 layer. And you can see in this particular image, the location of those thumbnails isn't really ideal, right? It's covering up the center of that pink flower. It might actually work better to have these 4 thumbnails over on the right and then to move the logo into a different position as well. The problem though is if I start moving these layers around, then when I turn off the option 2 layer, right, they're going to be in the wrong position again for this particular layer. So this is what I'm talking about. You want to have flexibility of playing around with different compositions, thus the name LayerComps. So before I even start moving stuff around, let's go ahead and bring open the LayerComps panel. Under the window menu, I'm going to choose LayerComps. And there's the little icon for it. And right now, there's no additional comp being saved in this particular document. What I want to do is capture the document as it looks right now as something called a new layer comp that I can then give a name. So I'm going to go ahead and click the new button on the bottom of the layers comp panel. And it says, great, you're going to create a new comp. What do you want to call it? Well, I'm going to call it option 1 because that's the particular image that I have visible at the very bottom of the layer stack here, option 1, okay? I want the layer comp to pay attention now to the visibility of the particular layers, their position, and their appearance if I'm using layer styles. Now in this particular example, I haven't used layer styles yet, but that becomes really powerful later on when you actually start adding effects, like a drop shadow or a glow or a stroke. You may want to play with different appearances of those. You might want the stroke to be black in one comp or white in a different comp. So this gives you that flexibility. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And what's happened now is that Photoshop has remembered, taken a snapshot, if you will, of the current state of the layers panel as it exists right now and has saved that as an option. And we called it option 1. At this point now, I can go freely move and change the position of these layers, turn layers on and off, add layer styles, and I'll never overwrite this option 1 layer comp. I can always get back to it with a single click. And we'll do that in just a second. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to create that second option. So I'm going to collapse the layer comps panel by clicking on its icon. And I'm going to turn the option 2 layer on. Okay, the minute I've done any change like this, if I go back to the layer comps panel and re-expand it, you'll see it does not have the indicator to the left of the name of the layer comp, option 1. Right now, it's showing me the last document state is the active comp. So if I were to click on the column, to the left of the name of the comp, if I go ahead and click there, you'll see it instantly restores the document back to the state that document was in when I saved option 1 in that layer comps panel. We'll come back to this in a minute. We'll go ahead and close the layer comps panel again. Let's turn that option 2 layer back on. Now to help me out, I've already got some guides created in this document. I'm going to turn them on by going to the view menu, down to show and show guides. So now I want to start moving these 4 thumbnails to a different location. I'm going to go ahead and select all 4 of them. I can just actually click on the whole group by clicking on the name of the group in the layers panel. And with my move tool, I'm going to simply drag those 4 thumbnails over here to the other side of the document window here. And I might want to move the logo as well. So I'm going to click on the logo group in the layers panel, and I'm going to reposition that as well. I'm going to hold down the shift key so it only moves horizontally. And let's say I want to move the logo right about there. So you can see I've got a completely different composition now based on a different background layer. Let's go ahead and turn off the guides again. I'll just use the keyboard shortcut for that, Command semicolon. And you can see it's got a different look and feel, but the basics are the same. Let's go back to our layer comps panel. We'll re-expand it by clicking on the icon. And you might have already guessed, we're going to create a new version, a new comp by clicking the create new layer comp button. And this time we're going to go ahead and name it option 2. Go ahead and click OK. And now at any time I can go back and click back and forth between the 2 different options, all contained within the same file without having to do a file save as and have different files to manage. The problem with that technique is that you quickly get out of sync. Right? If you add a new layer to one document, it doesn't exist in the other document. So this lets you do it all within one particular file. And when it comes time to print or save or export a PDF or whatever it is you're going to do to this particular file when it's done, you just make sure that you have the version that you want to save out or print active on the screen by going to your layer comps panel and just targeting the one you want to work with. So if I go to option 2, if I were to go to print now or do a save as and save out a JPEG or whatever, I'm only going to see the visible area in my current screen. That will be what gets saved out. So we'll go ahead and collapse the layer comps panel back down. And just in summary, layer comps are really a designer's best friend. They really give you that flexibility to play around and experiment without having to commit to a particular direction. and then quickly go back and forth and synchronize any change that you want to happen across all the different layer comps.